and not really telling the truth. He knows damn well that I don't pay 5 cents out of my budget for the rent of that building. The city negotiated the rent, they pay the rent, I never see the rent, they put me in the building. And because they wanted to build the first hotel in Brooklyn in 50 years. Look around downtown Brooklyn. The hotels are proliferating. I was part of the Renaissance. And if on December 31st, the city of New York said, find another spot, Heinz, you're out of here, I wouldn't have any recourse. I don't own the lease.
This is a fact. This is a fact. What Joe Hines did is he lobbied the city council to give him that space. It is a fact. He can try to spin it all he wants years later. What I'm saying is this. The decisions you make as a DA, he made a decision years ago to give his buddy Howard Golden, the former Brooklyn Borough president, a plum position, making about $150,000 to do absolutely nothing. I think we should take money like that and put it into the community and try to save lives. At the end of the day, the DA can't just be a gatekeeper of the criminal justice system. The DA has got to be a leader. And people in Brooklyn are looking for a leader to partner with. Those young men, part of Man Up, need to be partners with the DA. They're in the projects, they're out there, they're watching, they're stopping those kids from shooting and killing each other, and we need to support them.
Another example, I just don't understand why someone who's so smart, such a good lawyer, would lie about me going to the city council. That is absolutely untrue. Talk about all the programs I have that disproportionately affect young children of color. I'm very, very proud of the fact I have kept so many hundreds and thousands of kids. That's why I'm supported by all of the major Black and Latino leaders in Central Brooklyn. It's because I've done something. I didn't pan, I didn't shoot my mouth off, I did something. That's why YCP works. It's why our Justice Holmes program is going to work. It's why our alternatives to prosecution works. I care about the kids in this county, regardless of color. But I certainly protect a hell of a lot more kids of color than I do any other race.
Good. Next question. Really good, that it's in the news. And I don't know whether, we have 5 district attorneys here in the city of New York. And whether you're all partners, buddies, and pals, you ever get together to talk about other cases, but would you ever look at a case, say like in Queens, the Polanco case? Everybody's familiar with that case, the highway shooting by a special unit.
I'll give it a real, can I give it a real quick round? I think it was last year or earlier this year, a young man on the highway, Van Wyck or Grand Central, riding with 2 young ladies, one of them a lady in the back who's a cop. There's some altercation with ESU officers, emergency service unit officers. Officers shoot him, he dies, and the officer was not indicted on the case. So that's what he's talking about. I'm only bringing you up to speed on that case.
So thank you very much for that interpretation. I appreciate that. I don't know if you talked to your colleagues or anything like that. But at that case, a case like that, was outraged the public, even newspapers. Editorials are written about, wow, this is crazy. Would you pick up the phone and say to your colleague, hey, what are you doing with this case? Or hey, did you mishandle this case? Would you ever discuss it with him, or is that taboo, not to be done, or what happened? Let me ask you, I'm asking, I'll show it to you.
It would show poor manners if I did that.
Yeah.
I have no control over that.
No, but I mean,
I just think that would be old-mannered for me to do that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't expect anybody telling me how to run my office. I don't know the facts of the case. It sounded like an horrific case.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of horrific cases that have ended in prosecutions and jailing of cops who have been brutal and corrupt. So it would be something I just wouldn't think to do.
Ken Thompson, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think that I would be in a position to call another prosecutor and second guess without having all the information. I want to deal with the cases that happen in Brooklyn. And I believe that this DA has failed to do that. Look at Tamon Robinson, a young man who was accused of engaging in criminal activity, was hit by a squad car. We still don't know what's going on with that case. Look at Andrew Kelly. Andrew Kelly was an off-duty cop who was arrested for killing a young woman while driving drunk. Joe Hines gave that cop 90 days. He agreed to a plea deal where that cop got 90 days for killing that young lady while he was drunk. And not only did he kill her while he was drunk, he refused to breathalyze her. I mean, come on. If anyone else ran over somebody in Brooklyn while driving drunk and killed them, do you think that they would get 90 days? Let's be real. We have to have fairness here. We have to make sure that there's one standard of justice. So I would be too busy making sure that the people of Brooklyn were fairly served and treated with dignity and respect to be calling up my colleagues in other boroughs.
This is another example of his lust for fabrication, making up stories. And, you know, I don't know how to deal with it, other than to remind everybody that he still hasn't demonstrated his supervisory experience, except to say he started a law firm. Does he really think starting a law firm with 15 people is comparable to running an office with 1,200, including 500 assistant district attorneys? Is that even close to the theater of absurd of my not listening?
All right, Dean, this is one point I gotta make. He keeps coming back to his argument that I don't have supervisory experience. One thing that is important to being a good manager is showing sound judgment. And let's look at his failed and poor record of management. Number one, we know what happened with that alleged cop shooter who was let out of Rikers Island last week, who was allegedly shot at a cop 9 times and was already convicted for assaulting police officers. He was let out because Joe Hines' office failed to get ready for trial for 2 years. That is a fact. Second, we have multiple people who have been convicted wrongfully for crimes they didn't commit. Third, he fails and refuses to discipline Mike Vecchione, who is at the heart of many of these wrongful conviction cases. In fact, he has promoted Vecchione. Fourth, he has now taken up a review of 50 tainted homicide cases. Why does he need to review those cases? Because he believes that some of them, 50 cases, involve innocent people. If he didn't, he wouldn't be reviewing it. And then he puts a panel of his friends together to review it. Also, he allows his own 88s to live outside of New York in violation of the law. He knows that he had a prosecutor calling prostitutes, he never fired him. He forged documents that have been submitted to the court. They grab people, take them to hotels. He has allowed Mike Vecchione to train prosecutors as to how to hide exculpatory evidence from the defense. That is all about his management.
At the beginning, I wasn't spending time responding to his wild, unsupported accusations. And why would they do something like that? That's just silly. So I'll go back to the question. To my observation, which is, I think, supported. He has no supervisory experience, so he's got to distract by making all these horrible accusations. And you know, if all of this was vaguely true, I would not have the support of so many African American and Latino leaders. Okay.
When I would have so much weight, then he go into his support. I'm going to give 20 seconds to respond to that because they're on my back. He gave a laundry list of all of these electeds in Brooklyn who support him. What he fails to say is I'm endorsed by Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. I'm endorsed by Congresswoman Lily Velasquez. I'm endorsed by Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. I'm endorsed by Congressman Gerald Nadler. I'm endorsed by the Amsterdam News. I'm endorsed by Leonard Nunn. I'm endorsed by the Local Family Party. I'm endorsed by the Bay Ridge Democrats. I'm endorsed by Dov Hikiman, and the list goes on and on. What do they all have in common, Dean? They all want him out.
Okay.
Imagine anyone being proud of being endorsed by Dov Hikiman, for God's sake.
There are a few questions, I'm going to keep them to a time limit because I think I want the folks to know. You want me to ask a question? So very quickly, we're in law enforcement now, and some of the retired officers here will face a lot of issues when it comes to the budget. Right now, the NYPD and other unions don't have a contract and they're fighting. They want retro pay. Bloomberg says that it's been very hard to give retro pay, talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe more. What do you guys think about that issue? Although I know you don't oversee it, but you have to deal with police officers.
I've had my own problems with Bloomberg and budget, all right? He came in and immediately cut the budget of 5 DAs by 25% with no rationale for it other than, hey fellas, we all have to suffer. I'm waiting for the new mayor so I can get my budget in order.